So in my position, I have the privilege of talking to many, many business owners in the advice spaces of all denominations. I've literally had thousands of conversations about how do you deliver advice, what are you doing, how are you doing it, how are you articulating your value. And because of that, I get to see some of the most common patterns that really affect in a major way an advisor's ability to not only give advice, but to create the greatest change for their clients. This is what I call deep value advice. And you know what? The same thing that affects every human and the struggles that we have is really this crux of our own self-worth. So our egos are always leading us to make decisions that are counter to our best interests in all kinds of ways because of our sense of self-worth. And because advisors are in professions where their ability to translate their ideas, to be in the moment, to really see things for clients, to dig deeper, to ask questions, to highlight issues, their ability to do all of this is contingent so significantly on their self-worth that there's 100% correlation between the value they provide and their own feelings of self-worth as a profession. And that's really different. And it's one of the reasons why I believe in advice so much, because I think for me personally, having been an advisor all of my life, the thing that is most pertinent for me is the more self-aware I become, the more I can see myself and my fears and my biases, the better advisor I can be. And so it's this beautiful, perpetual loop. Well, one of the key things that I see happen really consistently in the advice space is this concept of whether I'm qualified to give advice. And I see it all the time, and it manifests in so many different ways. So I was talking to someone just recently who's been made redundant from a corporate position, going into wanting to provide mediation and change management, coaching and consulting around all kinds of things in this kind of difficult relationship space. And this person I think is so immensely qualified. She's just brilliant. She's got a lifetime of experience in these things. And she's holding herself back from launching the business. She's going and doing study and looking to get, letters and qualifications, and as part of what gives her the right to be able to do this. And the simple thing I'm saying is, look, you're already more qualified than people who are providing these qualifications. What are you doing? Go out and do it. And if we talk about, say, financial advisors, this is kind of a unique, interesting paradox. Many of them struggle with this. Well, I'm not wealthy, I'm not retired, or I'm not about to retire. So how can I be giving advice to people who are very wealthy and who are either going through planning for retirement or who are retired? How do I do that? Well, it's an interesting paradox because by definition, you couldn't be a professional advisor and also be retired. They're mutually exclusive things. So almost all financial advisors, all financial advisors in that particular scenario are not actually qualified in that same direct sense. Yet, how do they give advice? Well, the key message that I want to give you here is that yes, having an experience and having lived that experience can give you some perspective which is worthwhile in sharing. But the key value of being an advisor isn't that. First and foremost, if you are a deep value advisor, if you are someone who is focused on the life effect outcome that your service and your advice provides to your clients, then the key thing you do is actually provide emotional context for their decisions. You help them take a step back from where they are to look at their situation objectively and to actually see where they're at. Now that requires asking challenging questions. It requires digging. It requires pushing. It requires being challenging. It doesn't require that you have been through that same experience. That's my message for you. And the fact that you're holding back on challenging your clients, on pushing them, on keeping them accountable, on questioning their decisions, the fact that you're doing that perhaps because you don't feel that you're qualified to do so, is not in service to your clients. And it's certainly not in service to you, and it's not in service to your business. You do not have to have experienced the same situation to be objective. You do not have to have lived the same thing to call your clients out and say, hang on a second, is this really what you want to do? What is it that you're chasing? What about your life? What about your marriage? What about the other things that are important to you that aren't just the money? How do you do that if you are holding yourself back? And the simple fact of it is that you can't and you won't. And that in part is the difference between being an advisor, which sticks to this very narrow band of technical qualifications, and someone who says, you know what, I've got this technical qualifications. Maybe that's true. But I'm actually going to go deeper with my clients because I understand my job for them is to objectively look at their situation. And if I recognize that, then I'm actually qualified to help anyone in any situation with almost anything, because that does not require direct experience. Thanks very much. Look forward to hearing what you have to say on it as well. Cheers.